Hi everyone, this is Dr. Lin Bong from Eduling International Academy. Eduling offers online English classes taught by qualified and experienced teachers in the US. In this video, it is my pleasure to have Dr. Hayo Reinders with us today, who will share strategies for success in learning languages or in learning English. Dr. Reinders is my former professor, program director in my doctorate program, co-researcher, co-author of this book called Studying in English, Strategies for Success in Higher Education with Marilyn Lewis. Dr. Reinders is originally from Holland, is living in New Zealand, and has been all over the globe to teach, present, and do research. His full profile can be found at innovationinteaching.org. Let's welcome Dr. Reinders with us today.
Ling and I have known each other for many years, as she said, as part of the doctoral program, and we wrote this book together, which was a lot of fun. And it actually came originally as part of my experience, as Ling said, as an international student myself. I was born in Holland, so my first language is Dutch. And my second language actually is German. And so it wasn't until I was older that I started really learning English. And when I moved overseas to study, I found lots and lots of challenges. And I later on realized, when I was starting my career and starting to teach myself and write books and so on, that it would be really helpful to pass on some of the experiences that I had myself, and pass on some of the tips and strategies. And then, of course, Ling has had similar experiences, and our co-author, Marilyn Lewis, who was born in New Zealand but has worked all over the world as well, we came together and we thought that it would be an excellent idea to write this book.
Yeah, it was my pleasure to be invited to participate in the project. And I come from Vietnam originally, and English is my second language. So we all share the experience of learning another language here. And I know Marilyn learned French, right? She was a French learner. So
that's right. In fact, she taught in Cambodia in the 1970s and worked as a translator and an interpreter there from French to English and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So a very difficult job. And she's also worked and taught in many other countries, and has had lots of experiences working with students from other countries. So we all share kind of, good and bad experiences, and we all have more and less successful stories to tell about our own and others' experiences.
Mm. So let's focus on study skills. And what role do you think study skills and strategy use play in foreign language learning?
Well, look, there's the old saying, work smart, don't work hard. Of course you need to work hard, but it's important that you make the most of the time and effort that you put into whatever it is that you are learning. I mean, nobody wants to spend more time than is necessary. And it's not as if most of us have too much time on our hands as it is. I mean, learning another language, especially if that involves moving to another country, studying in another country, there's so much going on already in terms of learning about the culture and, simply finding your way. So learning the language on top of that is an extreme challenge. It's one of the hardest things there is. So we need to really do everything we can to make that process as efficient as possible. And that's where study skills come in, because study skills, the good use of effective study skills enables you to do twice as much in half the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I cannot agree with you more, because I have heard from so many parents asking for more advice on how to help their kids to learn better. So I think it is a very important topic. What does a strategic learner look like to you?
What does the what look to me, sorry?
Strategic learner.
Strategic learner. Well, a strategic learner is someone who, I think the key feature or characteristic of a successful learner is someone who thinks about how they learn, meaning that they are always trying to come up with new ways that are the most appropriate, the most useful to them. Because of course, each learner is different. So you can't say, you know, everybody should learn in this way because this is the best way or this is the only way. It just doesn't work because of the differences between every person. So a strategic learner is constantly asking, what can I do different? What can I do better? How could I learn more? What other opportunities do I have around me? What resources, what people, what teachers, what native speakers? And so they're constantly adjusting and getting better and better as learners.
Right. So knowing ourselves as learners is very important, right? And in the book, we do have a chapter that helps students to become better language learners by knowing their learning styles and also different strategies that they can use. My next question is, how do we become a better language learner?
Yeah, look, there are so many different ways to become a better language learner. I've always said, you know, to my own students, whatever you do, try something. You know, you're not going to find your best way to learn without making some mistakes, without trying some things that don't work. You need to figure out what works for you. And so for some people, that means joining an online community. For some people, it means playing digital games and online role-playing games and finding ways to communicate with others and native speakers. For other people, it means, you know, enjoying the pleasure of reading in the foreign language or watching movies. None of these techniques works for everyone. And so you need to just figure it out for yourself and get as many ideas as you can from all the good advice that is available to you from your teachers, from your friends, and hopefully from, you know, resources like this one, because there's a lot of good ideas that can be shared out there.
Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of parents ask me about motivation. What do you think motivation, I mean, how important is motivation in language learning success?
It's important, but not the most important thing, because don't forget, motivation is something that you're never motivated for something at the peak level forever, you know, not for any aspect of your life. Even if you're extremely interested in playing football or, you know, certain type of TV series, you're never going to be that enthusiastic about it at the highest level for weeks and months and years. Like in every aspect of life, motivation goes up and down. Now, the problem is that if you're not aware of that, if you don't know that that is natural, when you have a low spot in your motivation, a lot of learners panic and they think, oh, I've lost my motivation to learn English and, you know, I don't really want to do it anymore. What's going to happen now? I'm not going to be able to improve anymore. And parents will be wondering, you know, how about my children? You know, what can I do to motivate them again? Mm-hmm. But to be honest, what's more important than motivation is having good habits. Mm-hmm. If you decide for whatever reason that, for example, learning English is something that you want, is a skill that you want to develop, that is your initial motivation, and that's very powerful. But then in order to maintain, in order to keep at it, to keep learning, to actually make some time every day or as often as is needed to improve yourself, you need to have strong habits. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you decide that every day for 1 hour or whatever it is, you know, learn or read something in English or you watch something in English, and that is your habit. And then if there is a day or a week that you don't feel particularly excited about English or you don't feel particularly motivated about English, it doesn't matter, because your program says from 4 to 5, you're going to be doing something in English. So you just keep going. You just keep going. You just rely on your habits. And then because you do, of course, over time, you start to get better and better, and you become enthusiastic again because you can see your improvement. So motivation, important. Habits, more important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, Dr. Reinders and I and another researcher did a research study in engagement. And basically, engagement means actions, right? You have to take actions and you have to maintain your actions for a long period of time. So that is really important for learning success. Another question I have for you, maybe we can talk a little bit more, is how do students use this book to improve their study skills?
Well, there's so many different ideas in the book, and I suppose one way to use the book would be to just read it from start to finish. But another way is to just look at the table of contents right at the beginning of the book, page 1 and 2 sort of thing, and look at the topics there and start and pick something that appeals to you, that you like. So there are some topics on writing, and maybe you have some exam preparation coming up for which you need to write, so that might be very relevant to you. Or there might be something about listening or speaking that you're more interested in. And for some students, of course, the chapter on going abroad, studying abroad or going overseas will be more relevant. So my suggestion is to not look at this as a study book. This is not a course book that you need to necessarily go through and read and study every page of. But I suggest that you pick it up whenever you are looking for some ideas, and you dive into it, and there'll be lots and lots of not just ideas, but also strategies, ways of making your learner more efficient, and also lots of suggestions for good resources. So, good websites, good communities, good ways of getting in touch with native speakers, and so on. So, yeah, just use it as a resource to dip into whenever you feel the need.
Right. Yeah. So I hope that you will explore these resources, and maybe you will find something that you will like and use them continuously in your study.
Actually, it sort of relates to the topic of study skills, in that my original interest is in learner autonomy, and learner autonomy is about making learners become more aware and giving them more a better ability to manage their own learning. And you can see that, for example, at the moment we're going through the coronavirus crisis around the world, that many people, not just learners, but also teachers and professors, suddenly need to learn many new skills, for example, to teach online and to do blended learning or what have you. And you can see from that the importance of knowing yourself and knowing how to learn, because nobody knows everything, and nobody can say, I've learned in life everything that I need to learn. It doesn't matter if you are 15 years old or 50 years old or at the end of your career. There are so many changes in our lives, some of which we can predict and many of which we can't predict, that require us to continue to develop ourselves, to learn. And we can only do that if we know how to learn by ourselves and how to improve ourselves. And that's why, topics like study skills and so on, I think are and will forever be very important to prepare people for lifelong learning. And so for the rest of the year, that's one area of interest that I'm hoping to continue to work on.
Yeah. So thank you for your lifelong commitment to study skills and learner autonomy. And thank you again.